If you're looking to spend some money on fragrances, should you go with a bunch of great clones, or should you instead go with one fantastic original? How's it going, everybody? This is Campus Notes, and I talk everything fragrance from the perspective of a college student. Today we'll be going over a question that I've wrestled with almost every single time I've bought a fragrance. If you've noticed from all of the reviews I've put out, I have a ton of dupes, as you can see. And I have just a few, expensive fragrance. This is a designer fragrance, but it's definitely niche type pricing. And oftentimes before I pull the trigger, I think to myself, well, should I just go with the clone? A lot of the fragrances that I go with and that I want to experience are really expensive. For the most part, a lot of my fragrances are very hyped and very well known on the internet, at least moderately. And that's good news for me, because when I go for a very expensive fragrance, I usually have the option to buy just the clone of that fragrance. But what is better? A lot of the times, the common folk don't have $1 billion to spend on fragrances. When you watch your favorite fragrance influencer, you may look behind them and see a shelves full of fragrances. And it's probably thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on that wall. But the truth is, many of us don't have the ability to spend that. And honestly, many of us may not want to have that many fragrances. So for you, for me, what is better? Well, in this video, I'm gonna try to answer that. If you had $350 to spend, should you go with a Louis Vuitton or another fragrance that is around that price point, or should you go with its pretty similar dupe? I'm gonna start by trying to go through some pros and cons of each. So pros with going with clones. First of all, you're gonna get a lot more variety. If you make one purchase on one fragrance, you're gonna get one scent profile, obviously. But if you spend the same amount of money on 5 clones, you can get 5 very different scent profiles and honestly build a sort of complete collection, small collection, just from one purchase. Another benefit to having clones is that you have a lot of bang for buck. For example, you could go with Altair. You could, or you could go with Liquid Brune. They're very, very similar as I hear, and this one is just such a better price. I can't ever imagine buying Altair just for the 1% difference that it actually makes to the scent profile. Also, another pro for clones is that sometimes it will actually fix the original that it is cloning. I've tried the original Aventus a lot, and the problem with it is it's really not the best performing fragrance, but Club de Nuit comes out, and all the subsequent flankers, and it makes it smokier, maybe kind of harkening back to what it used to be, and it's to the point where I don't know why I would buy a full bottle of Aventus, because those prices keep going up, when I could just get this and it smells better, lasts longer. It's just more lucrative to buy the dupe, in my opinion at least. And finally, it could be that the price of the original is just not worth it to you. For me, I love the God of Fire DNA. I feel pretty confident saying that because I hear that this is a very close imitation to it. But honestly, I wouldn't pay that much money for this specific DNA because it's just not worth that much to me. But it is worth this much to me. The amount that I spend for this bottle is, I believe, an incredible price. I feel like it smells a lot more expensive than it is. And this is worth it to me. Also, not to mention that I hear that this lasts a lot longer than God of Fire. While I love the clone fragrances, I do have to say there are pros to getting the original. First, and the obvious one, is the OGs usually have a better quality scent profile. Yeah, the dupes can get really close to the original, but for a lot of the OGs, there's just that quality difference from spending a lot more on the raw materials that kind of set it apart in a way that a clone cannot imitate. I mean, if you think of an oud fragrance, like Azure Oud, if the original fragrance that this is imitating has oud that costs $40 to bottle, there's no way that they could sell this for $35 while copying the same exact DNA. It's just not possible. So that is why I think that if you want the best quality that you can get, you just have to go with the OG or the more expensive fragrances. I wore Pacific Chill today, and if I'm being honest, I don't know if this is just a mental thing because I know I spent a lot of money on this, but it felt amazing wearing a fragrance that I knew was high quality. When you're wearing a fragrance and you know you spent a lot of money and a lot of hard work to get it, it feels so much more gratifying to you. Even if you don't get all the compliments, even if a clone can get pretty close to the DNA, there's just something about having a bottle that is just prestigious. It really just makes you feel good. And also, I may mention this later in a different way, but the bottle design also adds to that prestigious feeling. I mean, the cap is metal, it's magnetic. I mean, this is just the coolest. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's just a beautiful, beautiful bottle. The glass feels amazing. It feels good in your hands. Like, it's just even fun to look at. Anyway, so to cons. I'm gonna start with cons for the dupes. Now, this is very related to what I was just talking about, but the quality difference is noticeable for the most part. You can tell when somebody, say, does the Aventus DNA with a lot higher of a budget, you can just smell the quality. You might be able to say, okay, I kind of see how they got it down to the price that they got it down to. And also related to another point that I just made, the bottle quality is usually not amazing. When you pick up a French Avenue cap, it just so happens to be that they are a bit cheaper. Like if I just squeeze these caps, they feel cheap. Now, I will say, when it comes to uniqueness, Clone Fragrances kind of has it covered. Like, what the heck is this? But even so, it doesn't feel super prestigious. And I don't blame them for that. I wouldn't expect them to spend so much money on a bottle and so much money on the raw materials, because at that point they're running themselves out of business. It's just how it goes. It's understandable, but it is something that you need to consider when buying a fragrance, because while you're walking throughout your day, you're not thinking, oh man, this smells amazing, but that cap though. Like, you're not really thinking about that. But part of the joy of putting on a fragrance, in my opinion, is having a bottle that is amazing. And some of the dupe brands have done it. Like this. This has a metal cap. It has a very nice feeling bottle. But for the most part, when you spray on a clone fragrance, a Middle Eastern fragrance, you may not have that prestigious feel of taking off the cap of a Louis Vuitton and having this pressurized atomizer. Now, I would go over the cons of the OG, but a lot of my points are kind of just the inverse of what I've already said before. Sometimes the scent profile is nearly identical, sometimes the scent profile just isn't worth it, and for those cases, I would truly go with the clone. For example, I'm very interested in trying the Queening DNA by Mind Games. That's just, it sounds like a fragrance that I would love, but due to the fact that I have a lot of vanilla ambery, and this is more vanilla amber, this is very vanilla, because I have fragrances that are kind of similar to that, I don't know if I want to spend a ton of money on just another vanilla fragrance. I'm sure it's super unique. I'm sure it is very hype worthy. Luckily though, Zenith by Riffs, I'm not sure what order, I'll pop it up right here. That fragrance apparently smells pretty similar. So I might purchase that because I bet I'm gonna get a pretty similar DNA to a fragrance that I don't think is worth buying for me personally. But yeah, I don't think either decision is good or bad. It's just, what is it to you? What do you think is best for your wallet? What are you gonna enjoy more? And what do you find worth it? You know, I'm trying to take two sides of the extreme. One of the most expensive fragrances I have, the cheapest fragrances I have. But the thing is, fragrances are a lot more diverse than that, and there is middle ground. For example, you could get Irish Leather by Memo Paris for the cost of 3 to 4 dupes, not the cost of like 10 dupes. On Joma Shop right now, a tester is going for 115 bucks. And this is a niche, quality, unique, incredible fragrance. It literally smells like you're walking through the green meadows of Ireland, and there's smooth leather in there, and it's kind of overcast. Like, this is just an amazing, refreshing, spicy, such an amazing fragrance. But it doesn't feel like it's on one side of the extreme. It's not super cheap, and it's not super expensive when you get them on discounters. Let me know if you would like a full review of this. This is a crazy fragrance. To conclude, I think for me, it is a mix of the two. There are some fragrances where I think I would just rather have the clone than the original. And for those times, I can spend the same amount of money and just get a ton of different scent profiles. But I do think that there's a time and a place to get an expensive fragrance, one that is gonna last you a while, one that you are going to thoroughly enjoy. I mean, when you spend so much money on a fragrance and you take a lot of time to earn up to it, there's something very beautiful about buying a very expensive fragrance that you don't particularly get when you buy something from Burlington's. So that's pretty much it for me. I want a few really expensive fragrances that I can truly enjoy, and I also want a ton of dupes that can fill out all the gaps in my collection. If I want a leather fragrance, if I want an oud fragrance, but don't want to spend the very crazy price tags. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this matter? Do you think it's a mix? Do you think you should really only go with originals? I mean, clone fragrances continue to get better and better, and the prices of all fragrances continue to go up and up and up and up. But truly, whatever you decide to do with the money that you have to spend on fragrances, don't let anybody judge you for what you do. Building a fragrance collection is something that we all get to do for ourselves. We're not doing it for anyone else. So if you want a collection with only 5 fragrances, but each one of them is incredibly expensive, or you want 40 bottles and each one of them is only 35 to 45 bucks, if that is what fulfills your fragrance desires, go for it. And with all that being said, I hope that you have an amazing day.